Hello, my name is Matt Buckingham and I'm an author and illustrator, and today I'm going to show you how to draw one of the characters from the book I did with Paul Bright called Nobody Laughs at a Lion. So what we're going to do is draw a really grumpy old lion, and for this you're going to need some paint, some paper and all different kinds of pencils. Any pencils that you've got at home. Pencils, pens, crayons will be great. Okay, let's go. Okay, so as we can see, here's the book Now Nobody Laughs at a Lion, written by Paul Bright and illustrated by me. As we can see here, the lion is really a grumpy old lion, and it's a really nice picture of a lion because it allows me to be quite expressive with the paint, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using paint and we're going to be really expressive and slop lots of paint onto the paper and have fun with it and really see what happens. Okay, so I've mixed my colours ready, and like I said, I'm using watercolour paint, going from a yellow to an orange to a darker orange to like a darker orangey brown, because these colours are going to work really nicely together. And what I've done, I've watered them down so I can really have fun with splashing the paint onto the paper to really get the effect of that lion's mane. So we're going to begin by painting the lion's mane, and I'm going to use quite a big paintbrush for this. And as I said, I'm going to have fun with it, splashing the paint onto the paper. Now, what I would always suggest is start with your lightest colour first. So to begin with, I'm going to put down my sort of light yellow, and I'm just going to start to really splash on the paint here and have fun with that shape. And think about leaving the space in the middle for where the lion's face is going to go. And what I also like to do is put down some water straight onto the paper to begin with. So get my clean water and splash that onto the paper, maybe adding a bit of yellow to the middle where his face is going to go. But when the paint is still wet, this is the fun part. I'm going to get my other colour now, my slightly darker orange, and I'm going to begin to splosh that on. And just watch how the paint runs because of the water on the page. And I think this is the lovely thing about watercolour paint. It is that kind of element of surprise. You never know what's going to happen, but you've got to work fast with it as well. And again, that keeps it really quite responsive as you're painting it. So after that orange, I'm going to put a slightly darker one on. And again, I'm just going to begin to slop it onto the paper and really have fun with this. Spraying the paint down, because it's going to give us that effect of that really wild lion's mane. So keep doing that, putting in the colours, putting in each time a darker colour on top, and again just having fun with sploshing the paint around on the paper. Now while the paint is still wet, another thing I like to do is I'm going to get a smaller brush now for this, because I'm going to add in a few more details. So still when the paint is wet, I'm going to use some watercolour, but this time I'm not going to use the watercolour thinned out, with water in. I'm going to use it straight from my palette, so it's a thicker watercolour paint. And again, this allows me to add in kind of details to the mane. So I might add a little bit of water to the paint here, but I want the paint to be thicker than what I painted on before as my background, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dash, again just splodge it onto the paint that's already down. But again, because the paint is still wet, it's going to allow the colours to bleed and blend really quite nicely. And again, with watercolour paint, because you've got to work fast, you never know what you're going to get. It might be successful, it might not, but that's the fun of it. And again, I'm just going to have fun with this, and I'm going to push the paint around and again dab in some of the more thicker paint to add in some details to the lion's mane, that hair of the mane. If you see that your paint is kind of pooling in the middle of the painting, what I would do there is just get a dry brush and just begin to dab back into there to begin to soak up some of that paint and spread it out. So while it's still wet, it allows us to push the paint around on the paper until we're happy where that paint is going to lie, and obviously then let it dry. But as it's drying, and again, this is the nice thing with watercolour paint, I'll experiment with some different brushes and some different thicknesses of paint and maybe some different colours, because a lion's mane goes darker towards the bottom near its chest. So I might get a darker brown, and again I might begin to whack in some darker brown paint at the bottom of the mane, again to add in some detail into those areas. But I'm just going to have fun with it, and again just experiment pushing that paint around. So now the paint's all dry, we're ready to add in some of the details to make this grumpy lion. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use some different materials. Now I'm going to use some pencil crayons and other types of crayons to draw in the features. And what we're going to start by drawing is the two ears. So towards the top of the mane, I'm just going to draw in two ear shapes like this. And I'm using a pencil crayon here to do this because it's quite nice when you mix paint and pencils together. And then the next thing this lion needs is a nose, and for the nose I'm going to do it somewhere in the middle here, and I'm just going to do like a very big triangle shape, and I'm just going to draw in a nose like that, and then I'm going to colour that in, and this time I'm going to use a wax crayon to do that. So when we put the nose in, the next thing I'm going to draw is a round circle for where the lion's mouth is going to go. And again, I'm going to use a wax crayon for this because wax goes really nicely over paint. So I'm just going to draw in a big circle, and then I'm going to colour over there with my white wax crayon. And again, what I'm going to do after I've used the wax crayon for the mouth, I'm going to do the wax crayon again for the two eyes. Now for this, to make it look a little bit funny, I'm going to do the eyes quite close together. So I'm going to draw two white dots where my eyes are going to go on the lion in the middle towards the top by the ears. Okay, now so I'm going to go back to my sort of pencil crayon, and I'm going to begin to draw in some of the features that will make this a grumpy looking lion. So lions have a long snout to the nose, and again I'm just going to use my crayon and draw that snout in by drawing a few lines that's going to make it look like this lion's got this long snout up to its mouth, its nose. And then I'm going to use the same crayon and do some little hairs all the way around the white circle to show the outside of the lion's mouth. Now comes a really fun part, because I'm going to use a dip pen and some ink. So a dip pen is one of these pens that, like an old pen that would have been used for like a quill in the past, but the nice thing about these is you can dip it into the ink and you can draw with it, and it can be really fun drawing with a dip pen. If you haven't got a dip pen, just use any pen that you've got, but it's nice to use a black ink here because it's really going to make some of the features stand out, like the two eyes that I put in and this mouth shape that I'm going to draw now. Now this is a very grumpy lion, so we're going to have a really grumpy mouth, and I'm going to do a wiggly line to make the mouth shape. So this lion has got a really miserable, grumpy mouth, and I'm going to keep this pen and I'm going to do lots of dots where the lion's whiskers are going to come on the side of the lion's face. And then the final thing I'm going to do with this pen is I'm going to put in some eyebrows. Now if we want to make our lion looking really angry, we need to put in some angry eyes, and the nice thing to do this is using your eyebrows to do this. So angry eyes, we have downward slanting eyebrows. And now to finish my lion picture off, I'm going to keep with my pen. I mean, you can use anything for this. You could use your felt tip, you could use pens and pencils, but I'm just going to use my black ink pen to draw in some more of the details. I'm going to put in the lion's whiskers, and I might draw in some of the details of the lion's nose as well. And the nice thing about these pens, they go over the top of all different materials we've used. So the wax crayons will go over the top of the wax crayons quite easily, and obviously the paint that I put down to begin with. And so the really nice thing here now is to add in all of those fine details until our lion is finished. So I've just added in the last few details there, and I've used some other bits and pieces of material, so a bit of pencil crayons, some of my wax crayons and a bit more of my ink, and I think my lion is finished, looking really grumpy and moody and probably about to do a big almighty roar. I hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you'll have a go at home now, and let's see some amazing creations that you can come up with.